Cheating student thought he had me fooled. Fell right into my trap. So, I am a cancer researcher and a guest professor at an university's School of Medicine, teaching my specialty, imaging. Besides the usual acquisitions of medical images using MRI, CT, etc., imaging has a lot to do with image processing. Some days I am just a glorified programmer, IT guy. And as anyone who has ever programmed anything will tell you, coding is a very personal activity. With enough experience, you can tell who wrote what just by looking at the lines. I am also in my late 20s and I am not native to this country and it's my first year as guest professor. So, some students look at me as this inexperienced, gullible, foreign guy. As part of my module's grading, the students have to submit 2 reports that weight 10% each of their final grade. These reports are about image processing and they have to code a fair bit. As usual, there are students that make an effort. Some do minimal work and then some cheat, copy. As I was grading the reports, I notice a small group of students who found reports from previous years online and literally copy plus paste those reports, changing only their name. It was a facepalm moment, because those reports were not even good, and had lot of errors. You see, in order to establish a baseline for my grading, I browsed previous year's reports so I knew what to expect from the students of this module. Naturally, I graded them all with 0 and kept working my way through grading the reports I had left. Meanwhile, the students casually asked me in the halls how were the reports. Of course, I can't comment on that until I release the grades. One time, this dude, who has copied from another report, 98% match on plagiarism checker, asks me when will I release the grades and comes with this story that he worked really hard on his reports, that his exam hasn't gone so well and he is hoping that the grade on his reports are enough to get a pass. I mean, submitting another person's work as your own is very wrong. But it was an online submission and impersonal. Right now he was just lying through his teeth into my face. I could feel my blood boiling. But I didn't lost my composure and decide to come up with a plan. I knew that my exam was the last exam of the semester and that after that the students usually go home or family vacations while they wait for their grades to be posted online. So I graded the exams and input their grades into my Excel with their report grades. 4 students had 0 due to cheating on their reports, and if I graded their reports with 50% of the max grade they would barely fail the module. But they would fail nonetheless. So, it was on. In order to be fair, I bumped everyone else's grades. A bunch of people with miserable reports ended up barely passing because of my grade bump. But Evan thought their reports were bad. It was their own work and not copied from anywhere. You see, students are entitled to make an appointment to review their grades after publishing and before the grades are locked for the year. Basically, they sit with me. We go through their exam and reports and their goal is to convince me to give them extra points, in hope that they pass the module. I knew the cheaters would come. After all, they think they fooled me once already. And they still have half the report's points to bargain for. So I just waited for their emails. Lo and behold, they write me the same day the grades go online, saying how hard they have worked on their reports and that they don't understand how they only got 50%, and that they wanted an appointment. I was ecstatic. Sure, let's review your grades. Do you remember that my exam was the last one? Well, they were already on vacations, some very far away, and begged me for an online appointment. No can do. University policy. Moreover, you have 3 days to show for your appointment. Otherwise the grades are locked. Also university policy. So here they come, cutting their vacations short and catching planes. Some spent hours in buses and trains to make it on time. I know what many of you are thinking. They come. I show them the plagiarism checker results and reveal that I know that is not their work and send them on their way. Well, I considered it, but I had something better in mind. Those appointments usually take 10 minutes. I show them their work with my notes on what's wrong, right, and they try to find some inconsistencies in my grading and bargain for more points. I ain't giving you the opportunity. Imhawahaha. So, one by one they sit with me individually. And I go through their exam and reports. Remember that they copied the reports? And copied bad ones. With a lot of errors. I ask questions. Lots of them. Why did you do this? Quote. What is your reasoning for this? They don't know. It's know their work. They mumble random stuff. Because they don't know what to answer. Point by point. Mistake by mistake. I explain why it was wrong. How it should be done. Lecturing the same material that they had already been lectured on during class. I make it long. I make it boring. I make it painful. I spent hours with each one of them throughout those 3 days. They always came with the same. I worked so hard on this. And a little smirk on their face because they thought that it should be really easy to fool me. The gullible foreign again. As the hours go by and I am walking through the errors one by one, I could see their expression change. Little by little. Their hopes of passing being slowly crushed. And when they realized that I knew they cheated and I wasn't going to give up any extra points. At this point, they tried to cut short their appointment and leave. I wouldn't let them. We need to finish the review of your grades. It's university policy. And I just kept going. Extending their misery for one more hour or two. It was legal torture. Plain and simple. It was glorious. At the end, every single one of them left with a crushed soul, look in their eyes, and a fail in my class. They knew that I caught them. That I baited them and they fell for it. They ruined their vacation and their family vacations. Spent money to travel back and forth. Wasted precious summertime. Got bored to death and have nothing to show for it. And next year they will have to repeat the module with me. I hope you enjoy your summer. See you next year. Quote. Edit. This was EU, not US. It took the matter to my boss, who is their course director, and he told me to not report them because the university wants to avoid any kind of legal action at any cost. I couldn't even accuse them of cheating. Just some things I think I should have said. Oh, and loving the hate in some comments BTW. Some are just name calling. But other are very classy. Although there are a few that are way too long to read. So I am sorry for that. Edit 2. Also, for those worried about my bump the grades thing, I made a judgment call to bump some grades of some student who had a good exam and their report grade was pulling them down. They clearly knew the topics and studied. Their report was just not very good. So I decided that given that if it wasn't for the report they would pass, to bump it a bit to allow them to pass. Most of them went from failing at 49% to passing at 50% on their overall final grade. In my country, if you were caught copying something you automatically fail. And you were banned from enrolling in any of the universities for the next 3 years. These students got off lightly. My dad's colleague marked an essay and found her words used extensively but not credited. The student didn't know that the lecturer was divorced and the plagiarized stuff was written under her married name. So, I'm not familiar with other universities' policies. But at my school there was a zero-tolerance policy. Get caught cheating, plagiarizing, and get kicked out of school. No exceptions. Because of this, I never even considered cheating or plagiarizing. I can't imagine several students all from the same class deciding to cheat in such an obvious way. Sounds insane. Don't know how you had the patience to take time out of your day to lecture students who you know had no chance of passing. Plagiarism? Straight to jail. Undercooked fish. Believe it or not. Jail. Overcooked chicken. Also jail. This is good revenge. But why didn't you report them to the university for plagiarism and get them kicked out? That's my school's policy. I plagiarized my own work. Both my high school and university used the same system. Blackboard. I was randomly assigned a topic to write a report on. The exact same topic I had been assigned the year before in HS, so I spruced it up a smidge and submitted it. The following week I had an advisor meeting, as I had not done anything wrong that I knew of. I was very surprised to see my very upset professor, my academic advisor, and the printed copy of my report. They let me know that I had plagiarized a paper and that I was being put on academic probation and losing a scholarship. I asked who wrote the paper I copied. They hadn't looked at the name on the paper. Then I provided my HS teacher's email and was apologized to. Edit. I'm sorry it wasn't clear. By sprucing was adding new information, however. It had only been a year and most of the data did not change. In grad school I failed a report because the plagiarism checked found an uncanny resemblance to a student at the same school as me, in the same program as me, and with the same name as me. Took me half a year to convince them that the work I was using was my own. Pain in the ass. Well done. As a fellow university teacher, I can relate to this so much. It is sometimes incredible how stupid some students can be in their laziness. I really don't get the attitudes of the posters who are saying you are an asshole. This is a university. They all should have been kicked out for plagiarism, period. This wasn't high school. Plagiarism isn't a teachable moment at your level, and you did those kids a favor and actually taught them something. I teach and I would guess that these kids have cheated before, and I would rather not have them involved in my health. You didn't drag them there. Everyone came to you to argue that their cheating deserved a passing score and you let them. That, to me, is the pro aspect of this. Any teacher could have just thrown zeros in there and they would have just gone on with their lives. The cheaters won't forget this one and just maybe will care enough to do the damn work themselves. Edit. Okay. Now I understand their attitudes. They not only cheated through school, but they also can't read OP's write-up well enough to understand what happened. Makes sense. They're way too nice. As people say, here in the US, you get expelled and you get a black mark on your record. So you get to go on a power trip your boss won't enforce. Next time just report the plagiarism. Leave the drama to the teenagers. Best to teach them a lesson now before they graduate and go into the real world where their actions can really kill someone. Imagine passing because some dude's cheating. This was more petty than pro TBH. The best part is that they have to take your class again. Nice way of cracking down on cheating. Take my upvote. In order to be fair, I bumped everyone else's grades. A bunch of people with miserable reports ended up barely passing because of my grade bump. But Evan thought their reports were bad. It was their own work and not copied from anywhere. This part really jumped out at me as concerning. Are you saying that you passed students who didn't meet the standard specifically so you could enact revenge on these cheating students? Given that we're dealing with the medical field here, That is terrifying. I realize why you did what you did. The annoyance about wasting your time and being lied to. I like the story, though I am not convinced it was a pro-revenge. These students are looking to take people's lives into their hands. Misdiagnosis is a terrible thing. And to pass off someone else's work as their own work is professional suicide later. My sympathy towards the students isn't there, frankly. Here, being caught plagiarizing on a normal assignment as a warning. Do it on an exam and you're thrown out. At my uni in the US, cheating could get you kicked out of college, and it's an auto fail.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.